All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon. We've got some more edge rushers to look at here, and now we are, in my opinion anyway, pretty firmly in the territory of either you're taking a risk or you're getting a rotational player. And rotational players have their place in this league for sure, but you got to understand that if you get one of these guys, you better be ready to limit their snaps. You better be ready to put them in favorable situations. You better have other big guns in the edge room, and you better have some big guns on the interior, which we do, if you want them to be effective. These are not going to be the guys that carry you. These are going to be the guys that get carried and occasionally do good things for you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're bad, but you better know what you're getting into here. So we're going to start with a very interesting one, Arnold Ebiketie. Arnold Ebiketie was almost a Seahawk in 2022. The Falcons took him right before we could, and we got Boye Mafe. All right, everybody, before we go any further into this video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about the Sleeper app and some new functionality they've recently rolled out, Team Picks. With Team Picks, you can pick winners in all kinds of sporting events. Right now, we have NBA basketball, college basketball, NHL hockey is going on, baseball's going to start in a little more than a month, and of course, you have futures in the NFL, even though the games in the NFL are over. Right now, if you look to my left here, you can actually see you can bet on next year's Super Bowl winner. They've got the Seahawks leading the way in those odds, by the way, at 12%. How does that make you feel as a Seahawks fan? But you can bet on MVP, you can bet on draft picks, you can bet on player destinations, all kinds of fun stuff, even though the season is over. So that is Team Picks over on Sleeper. A lot of fun stuff you can do. All right, so Ebiketie supposedly was a player that we liked a little bit more than Mafe. Supposedly. I don't know if we did, but generally speaking, it's accepted that we were targeting Ebiketie and got Mafe because Ebiketie was sniped. Now, they've been very similar players in their career so far in terms of production, right? Like, Ebiketie's played in every game, although he rarely starts, that is notable, but similar sack production, similar overall production. He's one of those players that has a good Pro Football Focus grade, and he's useful, nice to have around on your team, but ultimately, he's not a star or anything like that. He's not a great player. And he also had a very underwhelming contract year, like Boye Mafe, only 2 sacks. But PFF, like I said, does like him. And here's the real thing that's interesting. Ebiketie, according to Spotrac, 3 years, 27 million. So that's significant, but let's think about this. The Spotrac has Boye Mafe at significantly higher than this. They have him at over 12 million a year. So with everything we just went over, why would Mafe be worth more than Ebiketie? I think the only reason you can give is that Boye Mafe was on the number 1 defense in the league and the team that won the Super Bowl, and Ebiketie's been on the Falcons, who have not, yeah, they have not made the playoffs once since he's been there. I think that's basically what it boils down to. I think you're paying a tax on Boye Mafe because he is a reigning Super Bowl champion, but Ebiketie is probably about as good of a player. So if you get Ebiketie and you swap out Mafe for Ebiketie, I feel like you are getting an equivalent player for a significantly lowered cost if Spotrac is right. So that's very interesting to me. He could definitely fit into a good rotation. Lavon Chaisson. Chaisson, interesting player here. Former first-round pick of Jacksonville. Did not work out in Jacksonville at all. But the last 2 years, he's finally kind of come into his own. He got the opportunity to play a decent amount for the Raiders and did some good things there. And this most recent year in New England, he was good. 7.5 sacks on a really good defense and was playing in the Super Bowl. And I know that Harold Landry was their number 1 edge rusher, but Chaisson was very valuable. So this seems like a late bloomer, and he's going to turn 27 this offseason. So the next team that gets him is getting him for what looks like his prime. And because he's had such an irregular career arc, I don't think you're going to have to pay a ton of money to get him. I don't think it's going to be super expensive. I think that you're going to be able to get him on that mid-level deal, around 10 million a year. And maybe it'll even be a 1-year deal where he has to prove it before he can get the big money next offseason. Now, Pro Football Focus, they don't like his run defense. Buyer beware a little bit here. You can go back and look at his career. They've never been big fans of him. They usually punish him hard for the run defense. So this is probably not a complete player. But again, we're talking about rotational guys. And if you can get a good pass rusher who cannot be played on early downs or neutral downs for 3 years, 26.9 million, you are doing well. 9 million per year, not even 9 million per year, just under 9 million a year. That would be, I think, pretty fair if you can count on this guy to go out there and give you 7 to 9 sacks. And 7 to 9 sacks, that seems to me to be a fairly reasonable expectation given what he did in 2025. Okay, so that's a fun one. And if he ends up coming at that discount because of his run defense, then again, you're saving a lot of money versus what you're probably going to have to give Boye Mafe. So sign me up. Okay, next guy is going to be Leonard Floyd. And this is very different from the last two guys we just talked about. These two guys we're going to talk about at the end of the video, very different than the guys we talked about at the start. Leonard Floyd, there is kind of, how should I put this? I don't want to say a lot of evidence, but there is significant evidence that he doesn't really have it anymore. He's going to be 34 right about the time the season starts. He had 3.5 sacks last year, playing 15 games, so he had opportunities. And you see where he's been for the meat of his career. Ever since he left the Bears, he's been a guy who gives you close to 10 sacks a season, and then suddenly last year, 3.5. That is a warning sign he's not the same guy anymore. And as recently as 2024, he was still getting to the quarterback at a pretty high level. And I still think there's some stuff he can do in this league that is effective. I still think he can be a good player. I think getting him on a good team with a good defense and surrounding him with good talent would go a long way in helping him be the player that he was a few years ago. But you are getting warning signs here, and he is 34 or gonna be 34. Like, what are we doing here? And the other thing to consider here is Leonard Floyd already has a ring. He won a ring with the Rams. I don't think he's going to be ring chasing. Maybe he will anyway, but I imagine if there's money out there for him to get, he's going to want that. Pro Football Focus, by the way, pretty tepid, pretty darn tepid on his 2025. And by the way, they've never really been a big fan of him in recent years, so read into that as you will. You got to go back pretty far to find them even giving him a good grade, so there are warning signs with Leonard Floyd. Now, Botrack says 1 year, 8.9 million. I could see that. I think that there will be people out there that are like, what happened last year with Atlanta was a fluke. He'll be better in a better defense, and he'll get back to a guy who can give you at least 7 or 8 sacks in a season. The question to me is he going to ring hunt? Is he going to look at the Seahawks or teams like the Seahawks and go, I will take less money to play there? He has made decent money in his career, but not over the top money. And like I said, he's already got a ring. So I think if he has the opportunity to get 8 figures, he's going to take it. That would be what I would do in his position at least. But Leonard Floyd, intriguing option if you build out the edge room well and you want somebody that can rotate in for 20, 25 snaps a game. And he'll probably be effective in that role. Last guy we're going to talk about in this video, this is another guy who I'm not sure he's a fit because he's never played in a 3-4 before to my knowledge. But we should discuss this guy anyway because he is a relatively high-profile guy in this class, Al-Quadin Muhammad. So, yeah. Gonna be 31 this upcoming season. Been in this league a while. Started out with the Saints, went to the Colts, kind of broke out with Indy in 2021. But last year, bizarrely enough, at 30 years old, suddenly he turned into a double-digit sack guy. 17 games, 11 sacks. It was pretty far beyond it. Now he was a pure pass rusher for them. Like, I understand that he was not he wasn't being asked to do the things that he was being asked to do that year in Indy. But you can see how irregular this career arc has been. He missed 2023 entirely. He missed about half the season in 2024. And then suddenly he's an 11 sack guy in 2025. So definitely buyer beware. But Again, because of this irregular career arc, you are getting a player that should be pretty cheap. And if he can fit into a 3-4, and I don't know if he can, but I don't know if he can't either. This is not a Joey Bosa situation. Bosa, I think I know. Al-Quadin Muhammad, I don't know. So PFF thought he was good last year, although they did knock him on run defense. They thought he was overall a good, effective player. Now, going back to previous years is kind of a waste of time because he didn't play that much. And 2025 is the year we really care about when talking about Muhammad here. But you can see they thought he was good. They graded him well. And because of the irregular career arc and the age, you are looking at a reasonable cost here. 2 years, 15.8 million, 7.9 per year. That is way cheaper than Mafe is going to be. So if that number is accurate, there may be something here. Again, this is a scenario where you need to really build out the edge room and you need to be deep. And then you're asking this guy to come in and play 20, 25 snaps a game. And that would go for everybody in this video, but obviously for the older guys, even more so. So I don't know if this is the route I would go when you're already kind of dancing through raindrops with DeMarcus Lawrence and Derek Hall, because they're not, I mean, for different reasons, but you are dancing through raindrops with those guys. Lawrence because he's old, Hall because how good is he? It's not clear yet. But you might end up having to settle for a guy in this tier. And if you pick the right one, things can go very well for you. All right. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming soon. We got more edge rushers to get through. Everyone have a good rest of your day. And we got to guess right here, guys. If we don't, I don't see how this defense gets back to form.